Hey y'all, TeannaBReading here. Welcome back to my channel. Another book review for you guys today. Today we're going to be reading, is that a typo? Yes it is. Today we're going to be reading To Be Loved by Lashaun. It is book 2 in the Things Unseen book series by Lashaun. 346 pages. I rated this book a 5 out of 5. Which means I really liked it. Okay. Let's get into this summary. As I've told you guys before, my summaries are either something I made up, or for the most part, they are straight from Amazon. Sometimes if it's short enough, I'll pull the whole summary from Amazon. And if it's too long, I'll pick the paragraph that tells the most about the book, and I'll use that paragraph. All right, summary. A woman scorned by life who keeps everyone she knows at arm's length. A man trying to overcome the mistakes of his past. A professional relationship that turns very personal. Uncomfortable truths and unresolved traumas threaten this blossoming relationship. And despite it all, this unlikely pair somehow finds the courage to show one another what it truly means to be loved. I am going to make sure to say this. I don't think I talk about it in my review, but trigger warning, SA is mentioned in this book. I don't think I mentioned it in my write-up, but I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to put that trigger warning in anyways. This was such a good book. That's my first sentence. Which clearly is a good book. You rated it a 5 out of 5. I was able to go on a complete journey with Remedy. And it was beautiful from beginning to end. This book did a good job on walking us through Remedy's trauma. And it was very... Remedy does not... She has friends, sort of. But she does not talk to people a lot. And so... in a lot of the book, it is very introspective. It's her at dinner parties. It's her in meetings. It's her just by herself, maybe. And it's like all like internal dialogue about how she feels in that moment. Oh, I wish this person would stop talking to me. Oh, I hope that I don't look super evil. They look scared to talk to me. I'm trying to soften my features. I know that I need to, like, it's very much that, and it kind of pulls at your heartstrings of like, oh, she's fighting something. And we see that from the very beginning. It's like, oh, she's fighting something. I wonder what it could be. But she has a very guarded energy towards people, but she's very open with herself internally. Like, the author, I feel like, did a really good job at just, for a good chunk of the book, we live in Remedy's mind. We live in Remedy's thoughts. And I think that the author did a really good job of putting us there. And it wasn't a situation where I felt like I wanted to leave it. You get what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like, oh, this is getting no too much for me. I need to switch to the next character. Like, it wasn't that. It very much so felt like, dang, I feel like I need to sit here in this space with her to understand what she's going through, to understand what she's feeling in some capacity. I said, Big Tim was a terrible father. The way he casted her aside for everyone around him wasn't fair to Remedy. I wonder if he'd have been more present if she was a boy. Big Tim is Remedy's father. He is unalived at her high school graduation, right outside of the auditorium or whatever they're having the ceremony in. And he's holding like her graduation balloon or whatever in his hand when he's unalived. And we find out that he was late to her graduation because he was helping out some neighborhood kids who don't have fathers. And the whole book, we live in Remedy's mind for a good majority of the book. So a lot of it is, why wasn't I good enough for my dad? Why couldn't my dad be present for me the way he was present for all of these other kids in our neighborhood? Her father is like literally telling her, you can't be selfish with me because so-and-so down the street don't have a daddy. You should be grateful. And he misses so much of Remedy's life, as he's her only parent. Her mom is gone. She's left her. He misses so much of Remedy's life just for the sake of being present for other neighborhood kids who do not have father figures. And this is what clicked to me about that. None of the people he's present for are girls. It's all boys. Because she talks about them going to practices or driving kids to practice and whatnot. And it's like, does he just regret the fact that he doesn't have a son? Because it's not a situation where she's talking about how he was taking other girls to their dance recitals. It's not a situation how maybe the girls played on girls' basketball teams and he was taking them to that or coaching their team. Or if the girls were playing soccer or gymnastics or whatever, he wasn't going to their stuff. He was only putting time and energy into the little boys in their neighborhood. So do you really care about the kids who don't have a parent or a father? Or do you just wish you had a son? Are you upset that your only child is a girl? And would that have been different if it was a boy? That dynamic was really interesting to me, because it was unfortunate and he justified it at every turn, but never was present for her. And she talks about how everything she wanted for her father for his funeral was cast aside for kids in the neighborhood who consider him a father figure's choices. They picked the headstone. They picked what the headstone said. They picked what the clothing choices were for his funeral. They picked where his funeral was held. And Remedy just kind of had to exist in a space of grieving her father while everybody else acts of more importance with him than she did. It was very interesting. I may read this book again when I finish doing this video. But I felt very sad for her because you can tell she wanted so badly to have the love from him that he saw giving to everybody else. Even some of the guys who she considers friends to this day in the book, he gave them that and they worship him. And she spent so much of the book like, my dad wasn't that great. And I can imagine that's hard. You have all this trauma surrounding your childhood at the hands of this same person who everybody else is thinking is a great person. I said, I love that Lathan didn't have a toxic BM in Gabby. Lathan is the main male character in the book. He is Remedy's security guard initially, and then a relationship develops. Lathan has a child. I think his daughter is like 15, 16, I think. But I like the fact that there's no drama between Lathan and Gabby, his baby mama. Even when him and Remedy get serious, there's not an ounce of, you my baby daddy, you need to be here with me. They genuinely come across as friends. They genuinely seem to have moved from a romantic relationship and now they want the best for each other in other capacities. And that's very refreshing because a lot of authors will do that. They'll start out the book off with the exes being great friends, but then once one of them gets into a new relationship that is significant and important and the partner seems above the previous partner, because it's no secret, Remedy makes more than everybody. But there's no jealousy there. There's no combativeness. The most Gabby is kind of hurt about is the fact that her teenage daughter doesn't want to be home. But that's for other reasons, not necessarily because of Gabby. that's for other reasons. And Gabby is honest about her feelings with that towards Remedy. And they sit down and have a conversation about it, and it's resolved. It's not a situation where those things are like festering and then there's this big blow up between them at the end. And I do enjoy the fact that we do get to see Lathan and Gabby have a really good relationship. Yeah, I don't know. I think this book was just very well written. I really did enjoy this book. I've read all of the Unseen series, and this is my favorite book in the whole series. So I really like this book. Tessa, who is Gabby and Lathan's oldest child, Gabby has other kids, so she's Gabby's oldest, Lathan's only. Tessa has the experience of most oldest children, essentially a co-parent. What a lot of parents make the mistake in doing is that if they have an oldest child who's significantly older than the other kids, that oldest child becomes that third parent. That oldest child is spending weekends or nights up babysitting their siblings, or they can't have the kind of fun they want to have because they got little siblings at home they got to cook for or watch after. And it's unfortunate, but it is a reality of a lot of households. A lot of households. And Tessa is at a point where she's tired of it, which is why she enjoys being at Remedy's house with her dad. Because Lathan is a live-in security guard. Well, he was living in the guest house. And then eventually they move into the big house when Remedy has an incident. But she would prefer to be with Remedy and Lathan because she doesn't have the same responsibility. At Remedy's house, she can be a kid. There's nobody else she has to look after. She doesn't have to babysit anybody. She doesn't have to spend time caretaking anybody else. She can focus on being a kid, go to school, go home, whatever she wants to do. So she prefers to be at Remedy's house, and that's what creates kind of that jealous moment with Gabby. But like I said, it's immediately worked out, and then they come to a conclusion, and it doesn't get to fester long. I said it's unfortunate that so much of Tessa's life had to be dedicated to picking up the slack of her mom's ex. Because that's what she does. Lathan ends up going to prison. While he's in prison, Gabby moves on eventually, and she has 3 or 4 new kids with a husband who leaves her. They get a divorce, and when they get a divorce, he disappears on his kids. And so now Tessa has become their father, essentially. She's the kid's father now. So everything kind of falls on her, and Gabby can't afford extra help. So Tessa is forced, basically, to be the co-parent. And it was unfortunate. I felt bad for her in the book. I'm not gonna lie. I did feel bad for her in the book. I said, I'm glad Tessa called Remedy for help, and that she was actually able to help her, even though she was dealing with her own trauma. Eventually, it gets to a point where Remedy's experience is in her face. I'll tell y'all what it is. The big thing is that she is SA'd by 3 of her father's friends when she's a teenager. When her father is casting her aside to spend time with other neighborhood kids. She is left at the hands of 3 men who her father thinks is trustworthy, and they all SA her. And one of them pops back up in her adult life with a fake apology. Because how dare you come apologize? What? And so she's now back inside her head. She is back inside her head, reliving these moments again. And Tessa gets into a situation, and even with Remedy's fear, and she's not currently leaving the house, and she's just kind of, her mom comes back into the picture, and so she tells her mom, like, you left me and this is what happened to me, basically. So she's back in her trauma, and she still finds the strength to be like, no, let me go help my girl. let me go help my girl. And she gets in that car and goes and saves Tessa. And I was so glad to see it, because through so much of the book, like I told y'all, so much of the book is spent inside Remedy's head. I overdressed. I can't believe so much of it is full of that. And so it was just good to see her have that same kind of conversation, but not about herself. Not in a negative way, but just like in a way of like, you can tell she's finally starting to process, finally starting to come, like, try to pull herself back out of the hole she's slowly sinking back in. And it was just refreshing to see her push through it on her own, even if it was for the sake of somebody else. It wasn't a situation where she had somebody else's ear or manipulation or guidance. It was like, okay, I'm either gonna do this or I'm not. And for this particular girl, I'm gonna do this because she don't deserve this situation. So I really enjoyed that. Anyway, like I said, I rated the book a 5 out of 5. I think I'm gonna reread it again, because I did enjoy the book. Excuse me. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff down below. Let me know if you guys have read this book. What do you think about it? Do you plan on reading it? Do you not plan on reading it? All of that fun stuff down below. I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.